And we are live. Welcome to MicroConf on air. Every other Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, we live stream for 30 minutes and we cover topics related to building and growing ambitious SaaS startups that bring us freedom and purpose and allow us to maintain healthy relationships. We don't ask for permission to start companies. We build and we ship real products that sell to real customers who pay us real money. It's going to be a fun day today. I'm hanging out with Alex McQuade. He is the newest addition to the TinySeed team. He is the program manager for our TinySeed Europe / TinySeed EMEA fund. So if you have any questions for Alex or I about this expansion into that section of the globe, please feel free to put them into the YouTube chat or into the MicroConf on air channel in MicroConf Connect. If you're not already a member of MicroConf Connect, you should be. We're approaching 3,000 SaaS founders and aspiring founders. It's free, it's high quality, it's heavily moderated. And if you want to be part of that, head to microconfconnect.com. So as I was mentioning, today we're talking about the vision for TinySeed EMEA. And I'd like to welcome my guest, Mr. Alex McQuade, to the show.
Hey there. Good to see you.
Where are you calling in from today?
I am calling in from snowy Santa Fe, New Mexico.
New Mexico gets snow?
I know, right?
Yeah.
I was tricked. It's quite snowy here. We are in the middle of a blizzard, and I'm originally from the south, so I'm unfamiliar with how to deal with this.
Yeah, I would just think this shows how bad my geography is. But I think of like California gets it in the mountains only, and Arizona, I guess, gets it in the mountains. So is Santa Fe mountainous?
Yeah, I didn't realize that Santa Fe is a really high elevation. Just a little bit. We're not too far from Taos in the mountains. So yeah, it makes sense when you think about the geography.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for joining me today. We got about 25, 30 minutes to talk about a topic that is near and dear to both of our hearts.
Yes.
It's TinySeed Europe or TinySeed EMEA. And so you're the program manager. You're going to keep the trains running on time. You're going to be living in Europe and doing all the stuff in the European time zone. And so Europe, Middle East, and Africa, we've had folks apply and get in from most of those regions into TinySeed Americas, but it's always a little bit of a drag because no matter how late no matter how early we make the calls, it's, tends to be towards the end of the day for folks. So you want to talk a little bit about, TinySeed Europe, why you've decided to do this, and maybe the benefits over the TinySeed Americas program for folks who are in those time zones.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with the fact that we've had a lot of interest and founders come onto TinySeed in the past from Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and that's always been a challenge. It's been a really big challenge. It's a big ask to not only be available at odd time zones, but we've had our retreats in the U.S. in the past, and with TinySeed EMEA Europe, we're trying to solve that problem. So we're finally aiming to facilitate founders over in that area. And I think there's a real demand for that, as I can see from all the applications that we have coming in. But a few things I want to hit on that are really the big benefits, more on the obvious side, but obviously now our calls will be in European business hours. So if you're in I keep saying the GST to GST plus 3 time range, you can expect to be on normal daytime hours. You're not going to stay up till like 9, 10 p.m. to jump on a call. And the rest of your cohort is going to be in a similar time zone. And likewise, our events are going to be actually accessible to you. So we'll be scheduling out a whole new slew of events that are going to be in Europe that are easy to travel to. Lots of exciting cities. I think we're already looking at a few. I know London's on the map. So I'm really excited to start building out that part of the program and giving everyone a chance to come in person, because really those retreats are a really important part of the program, building long-term relationships with the other founders in your cohort who are going to be there for you past when you finish TinySeed. I mean, these are intelligent founders who also have expertise in a variety of topics that you will be building relationships with. And the last thing I wanted to hit on in terms of things that are different, you can see in the name, but we've been saying TinySeed Europe, TinySeed EMEA, but I of course want to hit on that we are welcoming founders from Europe, Middle East, and Africa, which are all within those time zones I was talking about. So if you're in any of those regions, we would love to see your application. But really, at the core of it, we're keeping everything that is foundational to TinySeed for TinySeed EMEA. We still are a year-long accelerator program. We're going to be running parallel with TinySeed Americas, same general timeline. We are still having the same set of amazing mentors, which is really an incredible part of the TinySeed experience. I mean, our mentor list, I remember when I first came on and I was looking through it, I was like, oh, geez, these are like titans. This is incredible. And I the founders I've talked with, I always tell them, founders in the Americas program, it's a strong asset to be able to jump on a call with some of these industry experts in their individual fields. And we're not just talking just SaaS founders, but experts on marketing, copywriting, finances. I mean, really everything you can think of, we probably have an expert on it who can help.
If we don't, we find them. We get some esoteric, like, hey, has anyone ever dealt with, this really weird regulation? It's like, no, but I'll find somebody who does that. So you're right.
Yeah.
Samuel Hulick with onboarding, get Laura Roeder as a SaaS founder, and Joanna Weeb is an amazing copywriter, Lana Patch, and Rand Fishkin, and Heaton Shaw. It just kind of goes on and on. It's like an all-star list of folks who are either founders themselves or, subject matter experts.
Yeah. And I think being able to jump on a call with them and, you're stuck somewhere, and normally it would be something that you might have to slug through for God knows how long. And you're just able to jump on a call and, talk with somebody who's been there, that's an expert on it, and push you forward. That's a huge asset. And I think it's one of the parts of our program that I really love. What am I also missing? I think I do want to hit, of course, our investment terms are exactly the same as before. So yeah, really the most important parts of TinySeed, the things that probably drew you to be interested in TinySeed to begin with, are still there. We're just making it easier for you to participate. And and of course, I forgot you don't have to reincorporate in the US. That's a big thing.
We haven't fully settled on exactly which countries we are able to support, because I think supporting an entity in every country of all the reasons we've just said is not feasible. It's just not financially viable given the size of our investments. And the complexities that it's not just legal, it's tax complexities. There's so much craziness there. But our goal is to support as many as possible. So it's like, if you're in doubt, please apply. We do know that we're not going to require U.S. incorporation. There's a chance if you're in a country that's extremely difficult, we may ask, hey, can you incorporate in whatever, a place, a neutral place. There's U.S. Virgin Islands. There's, is it Luxembourg? Yeah, there's like a few places that are kind of considered these general EU. I know the UK has reasonable, more laws that make it easier for us to invest in them. So
yeah, that's a good point, because I've gotten a lot of questions from people asking, about that. And I would just say, if you let's go ahead and send in an application to us. It's purposely a short, pretty straightforward application. It really shouldn't take more than 15, 30 minutes. And that's the jump off point for a conversation. And then we can talk with you and dig into that further. And, that's a good fit. We'll find a solution. So go ahead and send one.
When in doubt, apply. I like to say it takes about 15 or 20 minutes if you know your numbers. And applications are open today. Some people have to dig them up, They're open as of now, and they're open through Sunday, February 6th.
Yeah, coming quick
on that day. Yeah. So we have questions coming in already. First question is, can people from the APAC region, Asia Pacific, apply to TinySeed? And the answer, of course, is yes. We actually have someone in Australia, a company in our fourth batch. So yes, you can. We don't have an APAC accelerator there yet. We don't have a presence, so the time zones are a challenge. But absolutely, we are open to talking and willing to fund companies. And now I can't guarantee that we won't ask you to reincorporate in the U.S. at this point, because we just haven't got there yet. So our plan currently is that within the next year or so that we start executing on TinySeed APAC. But for now, if you want to be part of TinySeed, you should send an application through and we can have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. Zach from YouTube. He says, when you say, quote, we do not fund founders from country X, does it mean the company is incorporated in X or the founder themselves? I'm asking this because I'm interested in being a digital nomad and also that there are ways to open a company in multiple European countries without being a resident there. So what do you think, sir? Is it founder residence or is it the location of the corporate entity?
It's the location of the corporate entity. It's really the challenge. That's the, like Rob was saying, it might be legally, financially difficult for us. But in terms of your location, I think the question, they mentioned they're in Europe. If you're in, Europe, you're great. You'll be in our time zone range, so you'll be perfect. And then in terms of your incorporation, like I said, once we jump on a call with you, if there's any issues, we can talk about it on a case by case basis and try to come up with some solutions, but definitely not to worry about where you are. I'd say the only caveat is that you're obviously, like Rob said, you're outside of those time zones. You're still welcome to apply, but just be aware that you might have to play some time zone setups on being available for calls. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I realized, I believe in batch 3, our spring batch, we have someone from Australia, our company, and they're located there. And then we have folks in the Middle East. We have 2 or 3 in the Middle East in the last couple of batches, and we have a couple people, 1 or 2 in Asia right now, in participating in TinySeed. And yeah, did a call with one founder the other day, and he said it was midnight his time, and he said, "But I just work until 3 or 4 in the morning. That's just my schedule," and so he makes it work. Founder location is not only relevant to time zones, really. We've also had folks relocate. Like we have a couple now who run a company and they're in Germany and they're going to move to the US but it doesn't matter because as long as the entity stays, the same, that's really the important thing.
Yep.
And how about, we have a question about minimum qualifications.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah. What are the minimum qualifications for me to apply or get accepted into TinySeed? And if you're interested in applying, tinyseed.com/apply.
Yeah,
think, Alex?
And the big minimum requirement, I would say, is a $500 MRR. That's really what we ask. If you're pre-revenue, I would go ahead and hold off for now. The beautiful thing about TinySeed, though, is that we'll have another batch down the road, and that'll be a good chance for you to build up that initial customer base. But really, our program works best if you already have at least 500 MRR, and that way we can aim to help you scale. So it doesn't mean you're not great or you're not going to get there. Just wait until the next round, and we'll be excited to talk with you then.
Another question. It says, I am based in the UK personally, but I have a US C Corp. Which location would be best? In your opinion, would I qualify for the UK-based fund, or does it not matter?
I would say, and let me know if you have an opinion, Rob. I would say apply for TinySeed Europe because it's fine that you're incorporated in the US to be part of the Europe fund, but it'll be a lot more beneficial to you personally in terms of being able, like I said, to jump on those calls at a reasonable time zone and participate in our founder retreats. So it'll be a better experience for you overall being in Europe, and we are able to, of course, accept anyone with a U.S. incorporation into the Europe fund.
Yep, I think I would agree. You could go either way. It doesn't matter so much, but the time zone and the retreats, I think, is the big thing. And once you're in a mastermind with other founders, you're gonna want to meet them in person because it's just too cool, to get together. And that will be more of a challenge if all your folks are in the Americas. But you could, address, obviously, these are all things that you could overcome. This is a question we got the other day, and we're getting it again. It's, do UK companies need to be SEIS or EIS registered? And that involves for folks who don't know, if you're not in the UK, it's a huge tax break that the UK government gives to angel investors, where they get a big chunk of their investment back as a tax credit, like the year they make the investment. I really, really wish the US had this, because this would be amazing. So the answer is, I'm almost sure, no, you don't need to be registered, because I don't believe we're going to be able to take advantage of this, because in order to take advantage of SEIS or EIS, you need a fund based in the UK, and our fund will not, at the current plan is it will not reside there. So I'm pretty sure it's kind of irrelevant. Which is good for you. I mean, it means that you don't have to go through, the hassle of doing that if you want to apply. So I'm curious, little inside baseball, Alex. This is your first time being on this side of the screen, right? This side of the of the curtain in terms of TinySeed applicants.
Yes.
And I think folks see it from the outside and probably wonder what that process is like. But you started with this a couple months ago, and you're seeing the applicants come in. How has the process been for you? And you're having to review applications and rate them. You're one of the 4 people rating these applications. Like how has that been for you? What do you think?
Yeah, it's an interesting experience. I'd say, especially like you said, coming in new compared to yourself, Tracy, and A&R with a few years of reviewing these applications. It's really cool on one side to be able to see all the applications, learn more about their businesses, and see the caliber of what some of these businesses are doing. It's really exciting to read their stories. I'd say sometimes it's a bit, there's a pressure being the first run for me. I spend a lot of time personally on the applications that I'm reviewing. I think especially this first round, I'm trying to get into the flow and really make sure that I'm giving every application its due attention. So I read into things a lot, or read in through all the details a lot. I spend maybe more time than I should on some of the applications, but I care a lot about making sure that I'm getting the full story. So there's a little bit of pressure to making sure that I'm, as I'm getting my feet under me this first year that I'm spending more time kind of thinking about each of the applicants and forming my opinion. I think you said I think it's true on our live Q&A about a week and a half ago, everybody has a little bit of a different approach. We're all individuals. That's why we have multiple people check the application. So I'm doing a lot of internal thinking right now on like, what is my approach as I'm going through and reading these stories? What are the patterns I'm seeing? And how does that compare to the rest of the team? So it's a really cool experience in the sense that I'm learning a lot and diving in fast. Yeah.
So we call that baptism by fire. It happens real quick, a couple months in. We have some good questions coming in from audience members. And if you want to ask your question, a reminder, pop it into the YouTube chat or MicroConf on air channel in MicroConf Connect. Question: would TinySeed consider businesses with annual pricing only, with an annual pricing model? This is from R on YouTube.
Yes, R. I think that's a great question, but it's also a great what am I trying to say? Great advantage. I mean, annual pricing. I know, Rob, we said this before. It's a positive in a lot of ways. So
get your cash up front. Yep.
Yeah. So absolutely, if that's your pricing model, we'd love to see your application. It's a good thing.
Absolutely. And Filippo on YouTube: how much equity should a founder expect to leave on the table with TinySeed? Well, I don't think you're leaving anything on the table, but you're selling your equity. You're taking investment in exchange for it. Do you have a standard deal, or is it case by case? The terms are standard: $120,000 US for between 10 and 12% of your company. That's for one founder. Then for the second founder, it's an additional $60,000. So that's $180,000 for the same percentage. And if you have a third founder, it's $220,000. And if you have more than that, don't start a company with 4 founders. You don't need to do a mostly bootstrap with 4 founders. But so those are the numbers. And we have funded companies from $500 to $800 a month in MRR up to $100,000 MRR. And if you're interested, it's great. If you feel like you're too far along, let's say you're doing 80K MRR right now and you're like, I don't know, these terms work. A couple things you could consider. You could apply and let's chat. Because you're obviously, really far along. The other thing is we have a TinySeed syndicate, and you can head to tinyseed.com/syndicate-overview, I believe, or just head to the TinySeed website. And that allows us to fund companies that may not be an exact fit for the accelerator model. Zach asks, how many founders do you accept per batch in TinySeed EMEA versus TinySeed US?
I think we're that's kind of a jump in here. I'm speaking out of turn, but I feel like it's we don't have we do have a limit. I will say that we just like TinySeed US, we have a limit on how many founders we can fit in, but we're not TinySeed EMEA does not necessarily have less or more founders than TinySeed US. So I think in general we're aiming for somewhere in a max of what would you say, like in the 15, 18 range?
So here's what I think. Yes, we have $10 million to invest in companies. So we can invest in approximately 50 companies over the next 2 to 3 years, probably more like 3. And in the US, the Americas, we have tended to do between 15 and 20 per batch because we found that's a good size. It's not too big, not too small. And B, that's where we see the companies maybe start. Those are the really good companies that we want to fund at that moment. And in fact, a lot of the folks who make it to almost, who are the 21st or 22nd companies, they're just not far enough along. And we find that by the next application process, they are far enough along. We funded a lot of companies who've applied twice and several companies who've applied 3 times. So that's our logic there. So 15 to 20 in Americas. We could do that in EMEA if we get that many quality applicants. We just don't know yet. It's going to depend. And in fact, our first US batch, I keep saying US, our first Americas batch was 10 companies. And so I would not be surprised if our first EMEA batch is around 10. As we get our feet under us, as we get the program off the ground, it just makes it a little easier. With that said, if we find 15 amazing companies that have applied, I'm going to want to fund them. I'm going to want to support them, help them grow, mentor them, advise them, give them the community that they need, because that's our mission, right? It's to multiply the number of independent, self-sustaining SaaS companies in the world. So
yeah,
that's what it'll be. And then right now the plan is to run another application process in a year for TinySeed EMEA. But I think after that, we will be making a decision about whether we want to go every 6 months with the, EMEA batch, but the EMEA Accelerator as well, or if we stick to once a year. It just depends on what kind of traction we see and how many folks come in.
Yeah.
I'm curious if anyone else has questions, because Alex and I can riff on this all day. I guarantee we can.
We'll just switch it us going back and forth.
Mm-hmm. Yep. If there aren't any additional questions, I feel like we could, we've talked about this quite a bit. We did our 1-hour Q&A, last week when we kicked off the batch applications. So if folks want additional information, they can obviously reach out to hello@tinyseed.com. And I think you and Tracy monitor that. And of course, our tinyseed.com/FAQ has a lot of answers. It truly is a list of frequently asked questions and answers that we've received over the past 3 years, funding just about 60 companies. And, if you think about it, we're at 59 companies right now. And within 60 days, we will be approaching 90. I mean, we'll be more than 80 companies. It's getting there.
Growing.
It's a real thing. Yeah. Zach says, thanks for your answers, guys. Been following MicroConf and TinySeed for a while now. As a resident of an EMEA country, it felt like a spectator sport, but now it's more engaging. Applying soon. Awesome. Thanks, Zach.
That's good to hear. Yeah.
Really is. And this is by popular demand. It's like you build a startup, which TinySeed is just a startup with venture funds, funds to invest in other startups. But you build it and you don't know how many people it will resonate with. You don't know if the market needs there. You just have a gut feel. You have some conversations. And so to have had so many comments like that and to have a lot of requests over the years that we've been doing it, to adapt the program, that's why we're doing this. It's not something we came up within a smoke-filled boardroom and said, "Oh, let's do this." It's like this is definitely a market need that we've evaluated. So, well, Alex McQuade, sir, thanks so much for joining me on the show. TinySeed.com/apply if folks want to check it out. And what's your Twitter handle? I always call people's Twitter handles out.
It's at Alex McQuade.
At Alex
Pretty straightforward.
McQuade. Easy to spell. All right. Thanks so much for joining me, man. And as we roll out, again, TinySeed applications, they're open until Sunday. And as always, I want to thank Hey and Stripe for being our headline partners last year, the year before, and again in 2022. We really appreciate their support of Independent SaaS Founders and of MicroConf. If you're interested in sponsoring any of our MicroConf events or anything we offer, please don't hesitate to reach out to sponsors@microconf.com. That's it for today. See you again in 2 weeks.